Do you ever have people come up to you and just say like, "Man, you're so good looking. You're so nice. You're so friendly," and respond with just, "That's just how I am."
Yeah, unfortunately, I see it as a cross I have to bear. That that people come up to me all the time saying those things. Yeah, like, wow, you're so good looking. And I mean, I've not really met many men as nice as you and as caring, empathetic, all these things. I'm just like, oh my gosh, again, it's just how I am, guys. It's just how I am.
Just it's just how I am.
It's
I can't
just how
help
I
it.
am.
I can't help it.
Can't help it. So just you get or I love this one's my favorite. Obviously, we're joking on that, but this I'm not joking about. I love when people say, "Hey, what you see is what you get." Like I'm like, that is the most passive, weak, uh reactionary, giving up any control you have over your life statement. Like, oh, what you see is what you get. Well, what if I see like a total like dum dum who I don't respect at all? Like, does that give me
That's what
license
you
to just
get.
be like, hey, that's what I see. So, like, does that give me license to just consider you just a dum dum? Like, I don't know, man. It's this whole idea. What we want to discuss is the mindset behind the identity behind this thought that there's so many sayings, right? Old You can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, you actually can.
You actually can.
You can teach a new dog. I think it's actually harder to teach a new dog new tricks because they're kind of pains in the butts, full of energy, peeing all over your house, and this idea, and usually we're not talking about dogs, we're talking about people. So if you really think about those words, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Like, what you're basically saying is, in your years of life, which hopefully you've matured, you've gotten smarter, you've gotten more capable. You're basically suggesting that in this state of maturity, capability, and intelligence, you're incapable of change. Like, that's pretty shocking. Like, I would be afraid of that. I would be afraid that in my older age, I'm just too uh crotchety to change. Like, that's kind of sad and scary to me.
Yeah. So the context of the conversation of why we're bringing it up is, we had a conversation just on mindset inside our mastermind group, and just this idea of the stories we tell ourselves, and this identity. We talked about identity on a past episode. And how many times do you say, "That's just how I am," right? Like, oh, you're cheap, right? Ah, that's just how I am, right? And you never really say "that's just how I am" to anything positive. it's it's always like in kind of a negative um, look at things. And but if you're saying that all the time, you're basically in this fixed mindset stage where, like, you don't think that you can change, and it's not a good place to be.
Well, and it doesn't even have to necessarily be negative. Like, I aspire to be better at certain things, right? Like, one of the in kind of entrepreneurial circles, when you're going to network and meet people, you hear this all the time. Oh man, I'm just not good with names. Like, I just, and it's not, there are some things that are aspirational that we want to be. And when you hear, whether you say, well, it's just how I am, or what you see is what you get, or whatever, you're usually responding to something that you perceive to be a challenge or criticism, whether it's constructive or not. And you don't give yourself, empower yourself the ability with the ability to change or to be better, right? And most of the time it's aspirational. Like, you want to be better at these things. I don't know anybody who wants to be worse with names, but when you make it a conditional, fixed situation that can't be changed, then you give yourself an excuse to be bad at something. Well, I'm just big boned, right? Okay, well, that's why I can't lose weight. Well, no, is that really what it is? You can't lose weight because you're big boned? Like, I'm pretty sure your bones are no bigger than most, or not, maybe if they're slightly above average, Actually bone has nothing to do with fat. So like, what exactly are we saying? Like, own the statement, and these are not things that we're perfect at, right? Like I mean, I have given myself reasons that I sit at 230 for forever, but I've experienced I've experienced 260 in college playing football, and I've experienced 190 after college. Like there's so I know for a fact that I'm capable of, and that it is possible, but I limit myself with these things that I tell myself with the fixed mindset and whatever that area of life is. Wow, my relationship with my wife suffers. I'm just not romantic. I'm just not a romantic guy. I mean, is it like how many dudes were just born naturally that have amazing marriages, just naturally, like with all these romantic ideas in their head, and they're just like super great at it? I mean, I'd offer that, yeah, there's some guys that have skills and are blessed with those natural tendencies, but all of us want a better marriage. And if we know that the path to better marriage is to be more conscientious in our intimacy game and be more romantic, then we can do something about that. Wow, my dad, he always worked. He was never home. And like that's how I was raised. Right. That's just what I know. Well, no, something different because we just had a conversation about it, right? I just told you how much time I'm spending at the kids' school and what I had to sacrifice and the days I had to take off of work to make that happen. Like there are options, there are possibilities, there are opportunities. And I'll tell you that something shifts in your mind when you're honest and when you choose to be different. Because being different just doesn't happen. You have to do something about it, right? You have to go to the gym. You have to take the time off of work. You have to even say that your kids are a priority and do those things. Look for opportunities, right? My marriage is important to me. Like all those things are critical aspects to our mindset and how we have the opportunity and the ability to change it, to build it, to grow it, to do, to do something about it.
Yeah, man. We put ourselves through this exercise where you just sit and reflect on some of the language that you're telling yourself and identify words, phrases that you've told yourself all your life or heard growing up that are fixed mindset type phrases, and just brainstorm, just list them out, list all the stuff that you tell yourself, and then take a look at those phrases and then counter them with a growth mindset statement, um, and put an action to it, right? An example that I wrote down for myself was this idea that I don't like conflict. I just, I don't like conflict. I don't like fighting. And, I take that and I look at it, and if I change the verbs and the words to say, well, maybe I just embrace differences of opinion and understand that people have different viewpoints, right? And different ways that they were raised and grew up and different ideas. And if I just stay curious and actually seek different opinions and look for those, maybe I'm not going to dislike conflict as much anymore, right? So just this idea of like really looking at yourself and what you're telling yourself and changing the words. It's a really powerful exercise.
Well, and it also, I think there's a couple pieces too that you acknowledge. Like, how does that make you feel when you avoid conflict? Like, does it make you less mad? Like, are you, you
Nope.
like go and you avoid the conversation and you feel bad, and there's probably thoughts that you have about that person, and there's probably some things that you're playing a conversation in your head and how you want it to go. And I'll tell you, if it's between you and me, right? Like, there's a conflict between you and me, and you go and you have all this stuff going on in your head, you know how much I'm thinking about that?
Zero.
Zero. Like 100% zero. I mean, I may be thinking about it from my perspective, and how maybe, I should have get this off my chest. That's assuming it bothered me as much as it did you. Right. And that's a very strong assumption, because most likely I'm completely moved on and thinking about something else, or vice versa. If I'm just like, oh, I'm just going to let this go because, I should just let it go. Well, like, what, who said, like, what, how does that serve you? And you're not just going to pick a fight to pick a fight. but how does it serve you to run from something, right? Like, is it benefit? Just acknowledge it. Is it beneficial or not? Does it serve your life or not? Is it serving your relationship? Like, from running from a conflict, does that serve your relationship, or does it build resentment? And does that resentment then, if you play it out, just build and build and build and build until you have a blow up? At some point, something's going to give. And if it's not important, if you're not important enough to yourself to make some of these changes, then think about something that's important to you, right? Like, think about your kids. And some of the, the fixed mindset is not just something that is describes us, and it's something that we have. This is something we pass on. And if you're not intentional with the language you use, words have power. They have so much power. If you're saying things to your kids, like, and I'm not telling you how you should raise your kids or talk to your kids, but you just have to acknowledge that this is not me speaking. This is Carol Dweck. She's a PhD, been doing it for 30 years, right? So she probably knows at least a little bit more than I do what she's talking about. But she wrote a whole book on it, and she talks about things like perfectionism. Like, perfectionism is actually not a trait. Like, it's not a great trait of a high achiever. Typically, it's a very strong indicator of a fixed mindset, because you believe that you should have been born with these innate abilities to be at a high level. And that's why you're a perfectionist. And if you aren't great at these things right out the gate, then clearly it wasn't meant for you to be. Well, that's just not how life works, right? Like, anybody of us who've done anything challenging, if you ever tried to snowboard, like, most people outside of maybe like Shaun White, and he didn't always win gold, right? So he had to practice too. But most people are not going to be great right out of the gate at snowboarding. That's just a simple thing. But grades and work and performance and all these things, the words that we say, oh, you're so smart. Most parents say that very benignly. They think they're helping their kid. But a lot of times, especially if your kid has a certain personality type, you may be completely crippling them for the rest of their life. You're so smart. That's why you did well on that test. Well, no, maybe we should acknowledge, hey, I really love how hard you studied. And your grade was an indicator, that what could you have done better? How can we even do on that? Right. And so the language, the words we use are so powerful. And most of us don't even think about it. We don't even think oh, you're so beautiful. Those words, you're so beautiful, have been the root of a lot of eating disorders and a lot of discontent with appearance, and it's not intended to be. When you say that, you're genuinely trying to compliment somebody, but you may be truly harming them and doing damage, but you don't even think about it because you're not thought about the context of growth versus fixed, and how to foster this the intentionality of fostering those relationships and the words you use in power, right? And again, when your kids hear you say, that's just how I am, like, what is the message you're telling your kids? Do as I say, not as I do. Oh, that's an interesting lesson.
Yeah.
So
one more just simple example that I am a culprit of to this day. I will start to change it, but the idea of good and bad weather, and hey, the language you use around weather, right? And it's such a simple example, but like when you say, if it's raining outside, hey kids, it's bad weather, we can't go out and play today. No, it's not bad weather. It's just maybe you don't have the right clothes to wear to go outside. Or maybe you do, and you just have this mindset of you can't go play outside when it's raining, or it's snowing, or it's icy, or cold, or hot, or whatever it is, right? Like, it's not good or bad weather. It's just be prepared for the weather that it is and go.
Or even better, if it's always good weather.
Yeah.
And like, I've had some of the most fun I've had with my kids is when it's raining out. Like, hey guys, go get your rain gear on. We're gonna go splash in puddles, dude. It, like,
it's awesome.
every time a blast. Yeah. And the funniest part about it is usually the rain gear is completely like, when you take off the rain boots, they're full of water and the kids' feet are completely pruned, and like you just gave yourself an opportunity to go outside and enjoy, right? Like, and it's always shocking to me, especially here in Colorado, when I go outside and it's snowing, and I've always felt it because it's true, but when it's snowing, that's telling me that ideally it's snowing in the mountains, and to me that means snowboarding. And so all very positive things. Like when people are like, oh, I'm sick of the snow, I'm like, dude, I love the snow because it means I'm gonna go snowboarding, right? But it's just a tiny, and they look at you like, oh yeah, but it's so cold. Okay, I'm gonna go snowboarding. Like it's gonna be amazing.
Yeah.
And so it's just as a I love how you bring up the weather thing, because and again, you're passing it on, right?
Passing it
You're
on.
passing it on. Is the world in front of you a world of opportunity, or is it a world of scarcity and fear? And I'm people are gonna say, they're gonna think about the weather and be like, oh, you're blowing this out. This is all woo woo stuff. No, dude, it's how you look at life,
Yeah.
and in business, it's how you look at business. Is the economy a scary thing? And I'm not going to venture out into business in this economy. When is an economist, or when has the news ever been like, now is the best time ever to start a business because the economy is just blowing up? It's always either, oh man, we're on a bubble and it's about to pop, or oh, houses are losing value, and businesses in the market, whatever, dude. Like, it's how you look at it. And you just have to do a couple case studies, read on people who made gazillions in the worst economies, and who lost gazillions in the best economy. Like, it doesn't have to do with what the economy is. It has to do with you and the action you're taking, the words you use, the mindset you have, what you see around you. And dude, put on some rain boots and go have fun, right? Like,
That's
that could
right.
change your life.
Could change your life. That's it. Change your language. Turn into a growth mindset. Stop saying that's just how I am.
That's how I am. Unless, of course, people are telling you how handsome and nice and how growth minded you are. Man, Goody, you're such a growth minded guy. It's just how I am.
It's just how I am.
It's just how.
Bye now.
Stu, you're really pretty.
That's just how I am. Oh, wait. Bye.
Bye.